5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And liftoff. Liftoff of NOAA's GOES-T, our newest weather sentinel in the sky to help keep us safe here on the ground.
And Daryl, let's listen in as we listen to United Launch Alliance Rob
Does look good.
who's the flight mission commentator.
View has gone to closed loop control. The RD-180 is now throttling down as expected. Engine response looks good. We are now 33 seconds into flight. Atlas is 3 miles in altitude, 0.9 miles downrange distance.
Max Q, 48 seconds.
We have passed through Mach 1. Vehicle is now passing through Max Q, maximum dynamic pressure.
Throttle back those RD-180s.
Now 55 seconds into flight. Atlas is 7 miles in altitude, 4 miles downrange distance, traveling at 1,900 miles per hour. RD-180 is now throttling back up.
We backed off the throttle to reduce
Now
the
at
stress
75
on the
seconds
rocket.
into flight. Atlas is 13 miles in altitude, 10 miles downrange distance, traveling at 2,700 miles per hour. Now at 90 seconds into flight, ULA's Atlas V rocket weighs now just 1/2 of what it did at launch, burning propellant at a rate of more than 2,600 pounds per second.
In 10 seconds, those solid rocket motors on the side will cut off. Beautiful shot from space.
SRBs have burned out as expected, and we see a good SRB jettison.
Clear shot of those
Vehicle is now
SRBs.
executing closed loop steering.
Here in a few seconds, they're going to throttle back up.
Vehicle performance looks good at this time. Now 135 seconds into flight. The RD-180 has throttled down slightly. Vehicle performance continues to look good at this time. Tank pressures are stable and Atlas booster battery voltages remain in their expected ranges. Now the upper stage is preparing for its use. Centaur reaction control system is now pressurizing to flight levels.
Now they'll jettison the payload fairing, which protects GOES-T at 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
We have just over 1 minute until BECO. We're now seeing the RD-180 throttle limiting to maintain a 2.5 G acceleration limit. Standing by for payload fairing jettison. And we've seen a successful payload fairing jettison.
Good shot of those fairings.
RD-180 is throttled back up now. And the vehicle has reached a 4.6 G acceleration limit and will maintain this level through BECO.
And you're looking at animation now.
We've seen that the Centaur has begun its boost phase chill down sequence.
Booster about to cut off.
And BECO, booster engine cutoff. Standing by for stage separation and a successful stage separation event. We've seen pre-start on the RL-10. And mass 1, we have ignition for the first burn. This first burn of ULA's Centaur upper stage will place the GOES-T spacecraft into a parking orbit around the Earth. This burn will last just over 7 minutes.
What a shot there, huh, Mick?
Yeah, that was great, Daryl, to see all that and listen to Rob Kesselman call that flight. The first stage performed very well this afternoon, and everything's looking good. Those GEMS.
Activity on the reaction control system as it begins its periodic firings to maintain thermal control conditioning.
Yeah, those GEM 63s performed well, solid rocket boosters, and RD-180 performance well. What I really liked was when we saw the payload fairing come off. That was a great shot from the camera. Saw the payload fairing come off, and then most people probably noticed that little half cylindrical come off after payload fairings.
Yeah.
That was what we call the Centaur forward load reaction deck. Because the fairing, the 5-meter fairing, encompasses both Centaur
As expected.
and the GOES-T satellite, there's a load ring that's inside the fairing around Centaur to help keep that 5-meter fairing from flexing. So that's what you saw when you came off there.
I was wondering about
And the
that.
engine response remains nominal. I just
And so
received word from the Trajectory and Performance Group that booster performance was as expected for the booster phase of flight.
All right, we're going to keep an eye on this burn and listen in. But in the meantime, we'll send it back to Megan out at the host desk.
If you're just joining us, welcome live to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, where we just saw GOES-T launch from just behind us at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. And guess what, everyone? I just found out that this was Kevin's first launch.
It was.
How was it?
It was super exciting. Almost a proud moment as an American, 20-year Air Force vet, and to be able to see this was awesome. Absolutely awesome.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. It was very fun to watch you react. Like you were like, you were like a kid. Like, oh, I have to take this. Oh, wow. It was great.
Absolutely.
It was great. So what's next for this mission?
Well, the wonderful thing about this, now that we've had a successful launch, we have about 12 days before it actually reaches geostationary orbit. So at that point, that's when we'll start our checkout phase. We'll be looking for the data to come down from the spacecraft to make sure everything checks out, that the images are correct, all that kind of stuff has to work its way through.
And, GOES is NOAA's latest weather satellite, as we've said. We've been launching GOES satellites together for nearly 50 years. I mean, there's been so many advancements made in between those times.
There have. And, I like to remind people that, this particular satellite in the series is really an evolutionary step, much like cell phones. Or when we talk about, hey, do you remember when we used to use landlines and rotary phones? Well, think about the leap we've taken from then to the cell phones and the capabilities that we have, much like that with our satellites.
Yeah, I know. I feel safer knowing that GOES satellites are up there. And now I'd like to bring in NASA's Leah Martin, who got to watch the launch with our agency's Deputy Administrator. Leah.
Hi, Megan. Like you said, I am here with Pam Milroy, NASA's Deputy Administrator. And what did you think of that launch? So exciting.
It was exciting, and it was, I don't know, I always just feel this electricity when a launch goes up. You're like, wow, people can do this. This is just the power and the majesty of it as you see it lifting into the heavens. It's always exciting.
And, hours and hours and months of work that go
Yes.
into it. Absolutely. So, NASA's vision is to expand knowledge for the benefit of people here on Earth. That's the heart behind everything that we do. How does this mission fit into that?
This mission is a great example of our mission in a lot of different ways. I think one of the most powerful things that we do at NASA is we partner with others to maximize the benefit of the things that we do. So this mission to launch the GOES-T satellite will enable us to have cutting edge capabilities that are looking down on the Western Hemisphere, the western part of the United States, to ensure that the data that goes into the NOAA models around weather are optimized, they're up to date, they will affect people's lives, whether it's farmers or protecting from wildfires. But what's interesting is we're also going to take that data because we have Earth scientists who are modeling our Earth as a system and climate far out into the future. This isn't an operational weather, which is what NOAA's mission is. They do it very well. But we take this data and we also use it for the benefit of science. So it's a really synergistic partnership.
And you just mentioned climate change and monitoring the changes because that is a priority for NASA.
It is. It's one of our top priorities. We are already doing a significant amount in this area, Earth science, and looking at our own Earth has always been an important part of our science mission. Interestingly, we also study other planets in the solar system, such as Mars, which we believe was once wet and had more of an atmosphere. And so the question is, how did it get the way that it did? And how do we make sure that does not happen to our planet? So it's a critical part of our mission.
Well, we're hoping that the information that we get today can feed into the future missions of tomorrow. If nothing else, we'll certainly know the weather. Pam, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoyed the live.
Exciting day.
Megan, back to you.
Thank you, Leah and Pam. And Kevin, GoSee doesn't just forecast the weather. We've talked about this a little bit. You know, we've talked about how it monitors the atmosphere for fog, dust storms, and smoke, and especially for wildfires. But what about like smoke and ash for volcanic eruptions?
Yeah, absolutely. This past year has been kind of a revelation in our capabilities to view volcanic eruptions. In particular, probably the most spectacular example would be the Tongan. But what we also have is another example in the Caribbean where you can see not only the amount of ash that goes up, but the area that it covers. And as a result of that particular hazard becomes an aviation hazard in particular.
Yeah, you can see all the smoke there. You know, weirdly enough, 2 years ago, I was traveling in the Philippines and there was a volcanic eruption there and we had to ground hundreds of flights because of it. So really, GOES helps decide whether or not it's safe to fly.
They do. Again, NOAA's partnered with the FAA and they provide them with those volcanic ash, both forecasts and projections for where that ash could go.
All right, we're now approaching another milestone in the ascent. Daryl and Mick, back to you.
Thank you very much, Megan. And we continue to burn, continue to get good numbers as we monitor the flight of the Centaur and GOES-T.
IP vanish.
Yeah, things are looking really great on this flight, and coming up on MECO 1 of that Centaur engine as Centaur continues to perform nominally. We've heard pressures and everything look great.
PU system has gone open loop.
Here in about 10 seconds, we'll have the
Standing by for the end of the burn. And we have MECO. Main engine has cut off.
There you go. That completes that first burn. And so now we go into about an 11-minute coast phase, Mick.
At this time, the GOES-T spacecraft and ULA Centaur upper stage are in an unpowered coast phase that will last approximately 11 minutes. The coast allows the vehicle to move to optimal orbital position in the orbit prior to beginning the second main engine burn. LOX pre-start on the Yarl 10. We have ignition, MES 2.
All right, main engine start number 2. We have advanced across the bottom of your screen where we have all the milestones listed. We're going to burn for about 6 minutes. As you mentioned, Mick, this is really hitting the gas.
PU has gone to closed loop
deeper into
control.
space.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be the burn where we get GOES-T headed out where it needs to be, and then we'll coast for that 3-hour
Vehicle
period
body rates are stable
to get where we
initial
need
part of the
to
burn.
go, and then get ready for separation. So still a lot to go from here, but this is a very important burn for the mission.
Just a few seconds left in this burn.
And we have MECO 2, second stage main engine cutoff.
And there you go. We have completed the second burn. Really
RCS is now operating at 100% settling level.
got away from the Earth, and now we're cruising pretty good
the vehicle is
speed
now turning
away
to its
towards
PTC
that
roll
stationary
attitude.
point where they want to get that geostationary orbit.
Yeah, this is the moment we've been talking about a little bit, right? This is that 3-hour coast that we're going to have Centaur and GOES-T do their thing, head out towards that geostationary where they want to get to, so we can have that third burn of the Centaur. And what we'll see on that third burn, Daryl, is that after that 3-hour coast, Centaur will go through its process again of pre-chilling the engine, doing some things to get ready for that.
Centaur is now
that
entering an
very,
extended duration coast phase. This coast phase will last approximately 180 minutes, where we'll
Get
have
ready for that final
third burn prior to spacecraft separation.
Yeah, and so we've now flipped the bottom of our progress bar to a countdown clock to show you and represent that 3 hours. When we return, we should be out of Africa and near the coast of Australia. So we're going to do some cruising.
Yes, we are. This is, like I said, longest part of the mission, but very much needed to get GOES-T where she needs to be.
All right.